Welcome everyone. It's lovely to have your company. It's Jarf here from Medieval Mirage, and I'm wanting to warmly welcome you. I hope you're all well. It's the 29th of March. So yeah, hey everyone. So I've got a few books, and I've got it that way because we're going to use this as my template to actually cut this down to size. So if you do repurpose books, just be very careful. So I accidentally, where is it? Yeah, so I accidentally cut into it. But I thought I would still use this because I'm going to reinforce it, because the spine is still intact. And it's really interesting. For a moment, as I was doing this, I was thinking about something else, because I had said to myself, now concentrate, as I'm cutting this down, going concentrate, and then my mind went somewhere else, and boom, I went cutting right through it. So, but I will show you how to address that. If that happens to you, it can easily be fixed, so please don't worry too much about that. So that's why I'm going to be using this, and I'll be using this as well. I'm going to do both of these. So sometimes what you will find is sometimes books that have been mass produced and probably not produced as well, I've noticed that even though I've lined everything up on that side, you might say that this isn't even straight here, and that was what was throwing me off. So now I've got to sort of not look at that line. I've got everything positioned there, and what I'm going to do, okay, I'm just going to put this here just to stabilize the thing. So both the covers, this cover here isn't really straight either. So this is the problems that you can run into. But just do the best that you can. So I'm just going to put that down there, but I've moved it again. Just to kind of square it up it a little bit. And so I've got my line here, and I just want to make sure I've got the other line over there. But at the same time, I do need to make sure that I'm doing this right. So let's just take this away for a moment. Just test again. I know I could just measure, but I just want to make sure. So once again, when I line things up, things just never line up well for me. It just makes life so tricky. So now the trick is to keep everything so it doesn't slide around. Yeah, so you're going to need to keep your hand right down on things. You need to keep it really firm when you're cutting something as thick as that, and you need to keep going until it starts to pull away itself. Be careful with your fingers, please be careful. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same on this side. So let's now get onto the other side of this, and just want to make sure when you're doing this, just to give you a rough guide, you're going to put this down and you're going to try and make sure it's sitting flat. And this will give you the ability to just put a mark line there, and then you can measure things out. So with this one here, again, it wasn't probably the straightest of cuts, but if I go here, so it's a little bit wider than the other one, but anyway, so it's just basically 5 and a bit, just 5 and a smidge. So 5 and a smidge. Okay, so all I'm doing, I think it's better for me to do it this way because I'm just getting false readings. So I've got it this way, I'm sitting it flat. Okay, I might go and then on this side, so I'm just eyeballing it. Right, so I think my cuts should be alright. So let's just quickly have a look. See if I can line everything up. And see if it'll make any sense. And it's pretty close, actually. Pretty close. Okay, so just get something heavy to just hold it down. Line everything up as best you can, and don't worry if it's not perfect. Please don't worry, just do the best that you can. And be careful, very careful, and take your time, because if you, doesn't matter how long it takes, because it might slide off, you know, like that. See, that just slid off there. See that? There you go. Done. Alright, so yeah, just do the best that you can, and yep, no, it's basically cool. Hi everyone, welcome. It's the 2nd of April 2020. I hope you're all okay with all this coronavirus crisis. But one of the things I do when I've got tons of, you know, cardboard like this, and sorry, so this is part of the tutorials that we'll be doing. You know, I've got cardboard like this and like this, and I've got tons of these. Then I really like to work, do a whole batch and then dry them off. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. Just bear with me. Now I'm going to need some wax paper. Okay, so I might just keep this handy, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. I might just do one more. So I actually reuse my wax papers, so it may seem excessive, but don't you worry. I really use these so much. So yeah, so I just wanted to assure you. Okay, so I get my gloves on and I do a whole batch at once. So I've got coloured gesso. You can get gesso coloured, but you can do this in any colour that is best suited for you. So now I'm going to grab some of this and I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'll grab whatever I'm working on, and that's the gesso. Okay. So I just get my plastic gloves and I just do a whole lot so that I'm not wasting gloves. You know, kind of do a whole lot of things all at once. So yeah. And I'll even go in the inside. Not necessarily over the top, but and I just find it really helps getting it all done at once, because then you'll have a whole stash available for when you need to make your colours. Okay, so alright, and I just lay it down here. And then I'll put some wax paper over there, and then I'll continue on. So I'll just grab this one. Normally what I would be doing, because I'm in a very narrow spot here, I would be laying these out without doing a high rise, by the way. But because I'm only doing this for the sake of the tutorial and I haven't got much space, I would be spreading them out on a table, so you don't have to do what I'm doing at all. I'm just doing it for the sake of the tutorial. So yeah, I like to do, if I'm going to be doing anything, I do like a production line. So if I'm needing to gesso, you know, things like cardstock or cardboard, I'll do a whole batch. So I save everything and just do a whole batch, and it just is wonderful to just get it all done at once, let it all dry at once, and then you've got lots in stock. You know, and I twist and turn my gloves because there's always some paint left over in between your fingers. So I think you get the idea, but if you're going to be, like for me, I don't like using plastic gloves unless it's absolutely necessary. And because personally I don't really like brushes at all, if I can not use a brush, I won't use a brush, like a paintbrush or something like that, if I can help it. So the best thing for me is to have something else to apply, so it just depends what's near me, that will be what I'll use. But this is just the fastest way. So if I'm going to use plastic gloves, well, I may as well do a whole batch so that it makes it worthwhile, you know. So you will need to be set up where you can leave these to sit down somewhere so that they can dry. But you want to make sure they're not on top of each other, otherwise they'll kind of stick together. And that's the reason why I'm using the, what do you call it, the wax paper, or the baking paper. And you don't have to be as heavy-handed as I am, because you know me, I'm always heavy-handed. Because it's amazing what gets locked within the here. There's just still so much to do and what have you. But it really is one of the best ways of, you know, doing this stuff. Okay, so for example, I could pick up some more of that. So see what I mean? It just goes a long way. But you guys might have a better process than me, so if you do, let us know. We can all learn from each other. So. This covered the gesso bit, and to make it easier to open up the lid, because it glues down. So that's why I'm using this. Okay, I might try and get some more of this on. So that's another way you can spread it out with just some cling wrap. Goes very well. Okay, and it actually leaves a really good effect when you use it. So I'm just going to keep doing this, everyone. I'm just going to keep doing this. So, okay, notebook covers. These are awesome. Don't throw them away. So look at what you've got around the place. You might have a really nice notepad that you're no longer using. I mean, awesome stuff. So yeah. Okay, can I put that there? Okay. Hey everyone. So my battery ran out, or it went flat, and that I would be continuing on with this, and so that's what I did. So I've done a few labels here. I've got some over there sitting there, and I've got something over here, but because I kind of ran out of room and things, I've just left it. So but I'm almost done. I've got a few more to go. But the other thing is, I have got cardboard. Okay, so I've got cardboard from old boxes that were sort of falling apart, and packaging cardboard that's really quite thick and sturdy. So I'll need to do a lot more myself, but I think I'll just lay down some plastic, because we've got drop sheets. My husband's been painting our kitchen, and we've got drop sheets with plastic, so I might just sort of pinch that for a couple of hours, because this dries fairly fast if the room is warm. And I'll just do a whole lot at once, and then I'll be set. I might have shown you this, but this is what I mean. So I've just pulled out the drawer. So I do a lot at once, and then I don't feel like I'm stopping and starting, and yeah, there's so much here available on hand, and I love to have them available. And when you've got a whole lot, it just feels really good just to have them in stock, ready to go. And it sort of cuts, like for me, my workflow is, if I've got a lot of, like, all my papers for my coffee staining are ready, I've got tons there, if I've got all my spines done, if I've got all my covers, you know, already gessoed, then it just, I feel, has it's only just speeding up the process, and it gives me more incentive to go, oh well, I don't have to, it's ready, I can do that, and oh, that's ready, I can do that, and away you go. So anyway, this is a cover. This one is a whole complete cover, book cover. So I've just, to stop it from sticking to itself inside, I've just sort of folded that over. Hey everyone, welcome, it's me. It's the 2nd of April, it's late evening. Earlier today you saw me basically go through this. Now, I actually thought I had my camera on, but it wasn't on, so I've just been pulling this back, chatting away to you, and there was no recording. So all I wanted to do was just show you how quickly these dry between the layers of the wax paper. So I had quite a few. So these will be kept in a separate sort of folio or folder, where I will use this not only for other ways of kind of protecting my surface, but for whenever I am doing bulk gessoing, these will be the papers I'll be using. So anyway, I do apologize that I thought I had the camera on, but it was on standby. So basically this was at the bottom, and so it's dried really well. There might be some parts that are still not 100% dry, but it's basically absolutely quite good. And right, so see that there? Okay, so I wasn't concentrating just when I was cutting into this this book. So we will look at how we can actually fix something like that. So don't ever worry, we can absolutely salvage that. So these are all these, lovely and dry. There might be spots that might not be dry, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm fully all stocked up. So there's a little bit of wetness there. But yeah, so if you have them through between the sheets, you should be good. And this is the one right on the bottom. And this, of course, would be the most wettest of all. So hi everyone, welcome. It's Jarf from Medieval Mirage. It's lovely to have your company. Thank you so much for joining me on this day, the 4th of April, 2020, Tyvek. So I have got Tyvek here because that's what I have chosen to use to reinforce this accidental slit when I was trying to get the book block away from the covers. And As you know, I did gesso this with you guys, and it's not the best gessoing because it's pretty rough, but I love the texture of it, and when we finish it off it'll be absolutely fine. It will just need another coat because the book cover had that kind of glossy finish on it anyway. Now the other cover that I've got, so I'll just grab what's out of that from there. Yeah, so they're basically the same, and yeah, so you can see here, I might have, you can see here I've put the tie-back on in the center here because it needed a little bit of strength. So if it's a paper spine, even though it's a hardback cover that you might have, it just may pay to reinforce it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to reinforce it, and I'm also going to trim. See this here? It kind of gets stuck a little bit, so I'm just going to trim that off. I hope yeah, I'm recording, okay. So I'm just going to trim that off so it doesn't sort of, I'm trying to do this very carefully. So we're just continuing on with that series of, you know, making our covers with books that we may already have in our stash. I might actually try and pull that back a little bit. Not by much, just a little bit. Alright, so you don't have to use tie-back if you don't have any. The only paper I wouldn't suggest using is just your plain printer paper, but if that's all you have, then I would recommend you definitely gluing it, two pieces together, make it a bit more solid, and then coating it somehow. You could paint it, you could put some gel medium on it, maybe even some gesso, just to give it a little bit of extra strength so that it's going to last the distance. That's what I mean. You want it to just last the distance. But you might have a lightweight cardstock, you might have craft paper, you might have, is it Craft-Tex? Can't remember where I've put the Craft-Tex, but to show you, but you could use Craft-Tex, but anything that is a durable kind of a piece of paper. So just remember that if you feel like it's not going to last the distance, or, oh, that's another thing. So I've got lots of digital paper that actually was the wrong type for my printer. That is actually fantastic stuff. So this is it, and it's really great for me to, I've got another one that's a little bit thicker, so I've got two lots, one a bit thicker than this, but they tend to be a little bit more, they've got more wear, they have the ability to survive wear and tear a lot better than just your normal cheap printer paper or copy paper. So yeah, so if you can spare some digital pieces paper, or if you're like me and you've got the wrong type, these are fantastic as alternatives. And if you aren't sure, just glue two of them back to back. But you don't want it to be too super thick because it's going into the spine and you want to be able to open and close this. the other thing you can do is use some very lightweight manila folder. But it needs to be lightweight. Some of them can be really heavy and some of them can be really light. But you'll have to test it out and see. But just be mindful, the thicker it is, it could compromise your ability to open and close this easily. So just keep that in mind. So yeah. Okay. So let's get started then. Before we do, now I'm not affiliated with anyone, but if you're wanting to know where I got this from, this is where I got my tie back from. A4 sheets, already cut, pack of 40, and that's who it's by. So I don't know, they're in Tasmania, I don't know what the situation is now, but I got them, they're on eBay. But if that's something you are really wanting to have, these are the people I got it from. Okay, now I do have this bit here, and I could use this, one here and one on the back, on the front I should say. Okay, now once that is done though, this may still be okay. However, I'm going to be doing the same with this. See here, I'm going to be putting a crocodile with this. And I could get away with it. I could just get away just doing it with that. It's just that these edges here from the original book, just there and there, can you see what I mean? They're still that paper. And I'm just worried that they could get compromised if I do put holes in there. But putting 2 holes, punch holes, here and here, so that this, because it's quite thick, this could have 2 of the elastics holding it up rather than 1, because it's quite heavy. Quite heavy, this, as you can see. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you aren't particularly fond of the way this is looking, which I don't actually mind, I love the fact that it looks like paper stacked together, and of course they're going to be sitting in the cover like this, and you may not necessarily get to see, you know, what's down there. If it's troubling you, you can always put whatever you like along there. You can glue it down. However, just be mindful, will you be still able to open up your pages? So you'll have to think about that and maybe experiment. But you'll want to be able to open this up for it to lay flat. Okay, so yes, you can, but make sure it's not going to compromise your ability to open things up and for them to sit flat. So keep that in mind. Thickness. This is a bit thicker, and so this is from a note. I think this is from a book cover, hard book cover, and that's just from a notebook cover, a backing of notebook. So this one, oh dear, dropped my scissors. So this one here I think would be perfect, and look at the size, this is perfect. So I'd be quite happy to punch a hole through there for the purpose of the, you know, the traveler's notebook style. Not a problem at all. I might still do 2 punches so that I've got the ability to put both, to use both of them, and if not, I can have something else with it as well. Yeah, so this one is actually perfect for that. because it's just very lightweight, and you want something sturdy when you're punching holes and you're going to be using it. Of course, everything hangs on the spine. You want to make sure it is nice and strong. So that's what I'll be doing with this one. So that is ready to go. But if I do go ahead, I'll have to make sure that it fits in here nicely so it's not compromised on either side. And I will do it the length of this book so that it covers up these bits here, just to give them that extra strength. Yeah, and no problems here at all with this opening and closing. So let's get on to that, everyone. Now I'm going to also do this for the front as well, to protect it, but I'm going to just do a slither for this side, but this one will have it a little bit extended. Okay, so scissors. Okay, I don't want it to extend too far out. Oh no, though, it doesn't really matter on the inside. How far did I go out with this one? Okay, about there. Yeah, that should be plenty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of fold it just there so that I get an idea of how much to cut off. I'll try and keep it nice and straight. I'm hopeless at eyeballing, by the way, everyone. So yeah, don't worry. It's part of one of my many failings. Yeah, okay, so just doing that like so. And it's not even, but it doesn't really matter. This is what I wanted to show you. So this is what's so powerful about tie back, okay? Now, I am trying to rip it. I can't. The only way you can do this is cut it with scissors. That's how strong it is. Pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, just like, looks like humble piece of paper, but the power behind it is incredible. Alright, so I'm going to have a little bit of an offcut here. Now the other thing I could do is wrap it around, which I probably will. Wrap a little bit around. However, I'm going to do that. Just don't want it sort of interfering with this and this, though I will be covering that up anyway. But if you're worried about this, then you could easily just sort of do a slit this way and a slit that way and then fold it right onto the spine, because it's just all about reinforcing. So maybe we could do that just together and we'll see how we go. Okay, glue would be handy, wouldn't it? So you can use whatever glue you have on hand. I've just got this one here. If you're wondering, I have shown this one before. It's Boyle's craft glue. I get it from Bunnings here in Australia, and inside it, that's what's alright. Now I've got something here that I can just sort of spread it through. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that one over. And now, so I could do this way, but I don't actually want that there. I just want it only in the center here. So just going to just snip okay, so I'm just going into that, what do you call this little doobalaki thingy? The creases in a book that naturally form. I'm just checking that I can open and close this okay. I'll probably need to put a little bit more glue on the bottom and top, but yeah, just checking to see how it's looking, how it's sitting, and yeah, see, you can just now see the white, so it's been protected there. However, we will put something over the top, and of course it will get painted on and so forth. Yeah, but basically really strong stuff to keep that nice and firm. And I'm just going to now just lay down the glue here. Now you're probably thinking, why don't I do those edges? Why did I only cut these slits? Well, basically, if you decide that you just want to paint your covers, what will end up happening is, if you did do that, it might look unsightly. You might need layers and layers and layers of gesso to hide it, or you know, disguise it with putting stencils down and gesso or modeling paste on the top to disguise it, because it will show up. Whatever you decide to have on the outside, if it's paper, whatever, it will show up, and that's okay if you're willing to go to more effort just to kind of disguise it. So now we've got that down. Just checking to see how this is sitting. Make sure nothing's sort of obstructing it. Just takes a while for it to really bond. Okay, so always make sure these line up here and this is nice and straight. That's what you always want to make sure, for those of you that are new at doing journals. Oh, if you're wondering, this is just a squidgy that I got from Bunnings, in other words a hardware store. I can't even remember what department it's from, but it's just a squidgy. I just find it's very easy to use and very easy to keep clean. It does a great job. But you don't have to have that. Look, I haven't got anything like this. Just some nice firm cardboard or credit cards. Easily, you can easily use that. So you can use one to spread out your glue, the other one to just flatten everything out. Because I don't want them showing, I'm going to cover that up completely. So basically all I need is to kind of protect this here. See how that's it should actually be alright. This should absolutely be alright because it has been glued down really well. May just need a little bit more glue in there, so I might just do that. Now, one of the things that I like to do when you've only got a little bit of an opening that just needs the work done. Okay, come on. As I like to, very stringy, isn't it? Okay, I like to go in this way. So just to get right into the nooks and crannies of things. I hope you can see what I mean. See how you can really get right into those little bits? That's what I like to do. And yeah. There's a little bit there. Okay. Now I'm going to just keep working on this because, like I said, it takes a while for this to actually set and do its thing. And look, just for good measure, I think this should be alright. I think this should be absolutely alright because it's got the most strongest paper there. However, just to do good practice when it comes to just good practices of journal crafting, let's still go ahead and I'll make sure, this is going to be my measuring guide, I just need to make sure I've got enough covering that bit there. So what's the saying, everyone? Cut once, measure twice or something? Measure twice. Well, in my case I have to measure 10 times sometimes. Yeah, that's how bad I am. Okay, pencil, pen. I've got a very rough guide. Now that's interesting. I can go over. So, because this is on the outside, I will go over like that. Yeah. Just to give it more strength because, like I've said before, with these kind of book covers, okay, this is what I mean. Now this one, that's a really good spine, that one. As you can see, look how thick it is. But some of them are just only a thin piece of cardboard, for those of you that are new at dismantling books. The edges of them, right, that's what I wanted to show you. So sometimes the edges though, so this has been made really well. So this is that book. It's a recipe book. It's been done really well, but have I got anything to show you? Okay, here's another one. So this is what I mean. It's a very thin, I guess it's, you know, for bookbinding. It's very thin, and that's the traditional way. But this is where it gets a lot of wear and tear on either side as well as within. But this is where you're going to start running into problems if you don't address those bits there. You want them as strong as possible. And that's why, yes, absolutely get this to go right over here like that. Now this is going to get painted over, so I'm not going to worry that it looks like that. And I want to make sure that our little bit here, see how well it's glued down? Might need a little bit of attention there, but if I'm going to go right over, it doesn't really matter. But it's really done a terrific job, and that should survive quite well. So that's what I mean about don't worry if you've cut into your spine. It can be rescued but of course on the outside you want to give attention to that extra bit of glue to make sure it's sealed, and this should last the distance, absolutely. But just for good measure and good journal practice, journal crafting practice, let's put one of these on here. So I'm just going to do a slither, just the tiniest of slithers. This is the part that was curling up a little bit, so now with this here, just going to sort of taper it off because it's going to go over in the, going over the spine, and that's my guide. So just a slither on either side. Doesn't have to be perfect, don't worry. It's all going to get covered up anyway. And now I can turn this one over. Okay, so it's more for just that little bit of extra protection over where I've accidentally gone right into the spine. Alright, so let's do that. Let's glue this down. Alright, so I'm just going to move that out of the way for just a moment. Now you do want to make sure you get glue right to the edges with this one, because the whole purpose of why we're doing this is not just to reinforce the spine, but where it's been injured. It's experienced some paper injury, and we want to make sure that that is going to help restore and repair it. So you want to make sure the glue goes right to the edge. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm just going to bring this back here. Oh, it's very stringy. Oh my goodness, it's gone everywhere. It's like a spider's web. Alright, so I think I had it this way, didn't I? I wanted to have it this way. Anyway, so there's my little paper injury along there, right? So I'm just going to go in there, just sort of make sure. I might do it the other way because it's a lot straighter. The cut's a lot straighter. And I'm going to line it up. Okay. And okay. Oh, it's so sticky. Just so sticky. Okay, so wax paper to help stick this down. And it's covering the area that we wanted to cover. So it might need again one of these little pieces to go right into the edges. So it just needs a little bit of help here. Just going to go in this way again. now I'm just going to check and make sure that this will sit okay. Now you're not going to run into this problem if you cut out your book block well. You won't have to do this step at all, but if you wanted to, because you're worried about it not being firm enough, then yeah. How this is sitting, I might just do a quick run around here before it gets too glued down. Okay, so that's sitting a lot better now. Okay, so just here, that's where we've got that there. So we'll put a little bit more. So this is where I need to go in. Just to... Right. So while that's happening, if I've got a moment, if this will allow me, I'm now going to, well, I won't paint it now because you don't want to watch me paint, but I will glue this in now and then I'll paint over it again. So I'm just going to spread this, and it's already quite tacky because I had to go and put it, you know, get the battery and everything. So I'm going to go, and what I'm also going to do is just get some glue down here as well. Very sticky stuff. Just clean that off. Gorgeous husband humming in the background. So if you ever hear humming, that's my hubby. He's a bit of a hummer. He's so gorgeous. Humming away. He's just in his own little world sometimes. Okay, very good. So, let's have a look. Okay, so it is opening up a little bit, but that's what's going to happen. There's going to be something in there and it will open up, so that's really good. Lies flat. Everything is looking good. I might need to do just a little bit of tidying up here, but not really necessary. So that's going to get another coating of paint in here as well. But there we go. Right, so make sure that you line up this. So this is a bit crooked. That's what it is. It's a little bit crooked, this one. So make sure you put whatever's going in there nice and straight, and make sure you keep it away from these grooves. So that's what I didn't do. So if I can, I might be able to, there's a little bit of wiggle room. You would have noticed I can still move this around. So now, can you see how that slid across? That's why I love this glue. There's a bit of wiggle room. I can just move it more centered, and it does feel less. Yeah, okay, I'll just check how it's looking. Yeah, no, beautiful. Really pleased with that. And that's why it's always good to just keep getting into those grooves, because everything will work out fine. Now what I wanted to tell you was, when I cut this out, when I would actually lay it down, and of course I haven't cut it properly, look at that, it's very, but when I would lay it down, it would actually kind of veer off. It wasn't sitting straight, and that was because the spine was too fragile, and of course I had compromised it with that slip. So the actual spine was no longer able to support the actual covers, and that's why your spine is so important. You want to make sure it is going to be firm, and that will mean that your covers will sit better as well. So yeah, everything here, and yeah, so that's how you rescue a spine and how to reinforce one. And if you are going to be using this like a travel notebook, or a Midori style, then do consider reinforcing this, because it will last the distance. You'll be able to use it again and again and again. Alright, so just make sure that gets glued down well. And make sure it's in the center, so your grooves will go straight in with your grooves. And if it's not correctly placed, it will push it if there's enough wiggle room with your glue. That's what it's looking like. It looks like a bit of a mess at the moment, and remember, if there's a little bit of gaps showing through, you're going to just go straight in there to glue it. But I think this should be absolutely fine. I still got work to do on this anyway, so, but yeah. It's the 6th of April 2020. I'm just going to be doing another coat of gesso here. Just one thing I'm going to mention. Now I only have a little baby crocodile here, and some of you might have larger ones, but I'm not actually sure if I can kind of extend this out. I don't really know how to actually use this, but I don't think I can go any wider than that unless someone can tell me, because this is a new edition that I've purchased. Normally when I'm hole punching, I have that little kind of mechanism that you pull and drop, or I'll use an awl, but just make sure that if you're hoping to use your crocodile, that you can get it to go through if you're going to be doing the Midori style. So as you can see, I can barely get this in there. So that's just something to keep an eye on when you're trying to reinforce a cover. Watch the thickness. Now over here, the spine that I'm going to be using to just reinforce, now that's not a problem. So I can fit that in, with great ease. So just keep an eye on that if you're going to be using a crocodile that's a baby one, because it may not allow for anything wider than this. I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't. Maybe it's because I don't really know how to use it yet. I'm still learning how to use a crocodile. So yeah, but anyway, it's still a fantastic tool. I've just got to remember to watch my thickness doesn't go beyond what's there. So yeah, okay, right, that was that. So my husband's in the other room sleeping, so I don't want to disturb him. That's why my voice is really low. I apologize. So I'm just going to just put the camera on again and paint this again, and while I'm doing that, remember I have my gloves on. I do it with my gloves, and I've got my other pieces here that I'll do with you guys. So I'm now going to go and do this without talking. But one of the things that I meant to tell you that I didn't do because I didn't want to make any noise was that when you're working with book covers, especially if they've got a hard surface, I found my craft text. I'm so excited. This is awesome. I'm going to have to find a place to put it because I always keep losing it. Okay, so one of the things that is really good to do, if you can get yourself either a block, oh excuse this is from my gessoing, if you can get a block, something like this, I get these from Bunnings, you can get them fine, coarse and medium. I just get all three because I like to sort of vary what I'm doing, but you can get sandpaper and wrap it around something that's a bit of a block, because then it makes it really easy to go over it. So, for example, when you're going to be using something like this, see how it's got all these things, and this was a library book, so they've got all this stuff on there. Now sometimes it's just impossible to actually get the stuff off. It really is. It will actually even damage your, you know, the structure of a book, and even you may lose quite a bit of thickness if you're trying to have a nice chipboard, grey board, book board. So one of the things that you'll need to do then, if that's the case and you can't get it off no matter what you do, then what I recommend is before priming it with gesso, and it may take a couple of coats, so be prepared for that. And that's why I like to do mine with gloves, because I do a whole lot in one go, let them dry, and then a whole lot, and you don't feel like you're wasting your plastic gloves, nor do you feel like you're wasting your gesso or your time. It's all being done at once. Now this one may not be that good for this, but if you can imagine just doing your best to try and get as much of that glossy part off. It's going to be quite dusty, it'll make a lot of dust, but at least it will give it a little bit of tooth, and it will stop kind of that what's that word, that gloss that makes it almost impossible to glue anything on there. So that's what I would recommend. You just really go for broke. Just sand blocking or sanding your parts where you can't get rid of that fine, where is that? So I think I was showing you, see how I was able to get some of it off. So underneath this is the paper, the cover that they've put on it, so there'd be a fine film over the paper that they've used to cover it up, but sometimes it's impossible to get it off. Some of you might actually have suggestions as to how to go about it, so please leave them in the comments below. But for me, I have found that the more I try to dig in, I've actually compromised the beautiful chipboard. So the best way that I have found is just to give it a really good sanding, rough it up, because all you're doing is you're just taking away that gloss, that shine. Yeah, I don't know where I think I have got a finer grade. So this is the sanding block that I've got. Yeah. So I've got a medium grade. I think this one's the coarse one, but I don't know where my fine one has gone. So it's a lot finer than that. So they all will give you a different finish, as you will most likely know. So what I wanted to do right now with you is I'm just going to add this. Now I had to trim this down, so I'm going to put a bead, a little bit of the gesso around there, and then once this is glued in, not because I want to reinforce the actual spine, because I think it can stand up quite well on its own now, but because of these edges, they are just too flimsy. So they're the edges that hello. Okay, so these are the edges here. Now some of them, like this one, has been well made, and I know I've talked about this before. See how it's got the beautiful little cardboard spine there? Well, that's going to be solid. But see this paper here? Sometimes there might be just a slither of some cardstock, and then you've got this covering, and it will not last the distance, because that's where a lot of the damage goes. You know, that's where the foot traffic, there's a lot of foot traffic on either side here, or hand traffic. So because of that, and we're going to be doing the elastic through there, I just want to give it some extra protection. So what I've done is I've got a thin piece here. This is from a notebook, a big A4 notebook, full foolscap notebook, and I've measured it so that when I'm going to close it, I'm looking to see if it doesn't sort of interfere. Okay, so it's going to sit in there. I'm going to make it sure I take it right to the very top. Now, will it fit? Right, needs a bit more trimming on that side there. This sits perfectly. So I was veering off a little bit with that. So I'm just going to go somewhere else to do that, because can I move these things out of that? Oh, here we go. I'm going to try and be in this little corner here without knocking anything off, and do it with you. I think this side was fine. So, okay, so this is the side that I was cutting off. I'm just going to first of all just straighten this up a little bit. I should be using my guides on my board here. Oh, by the way, some of you who don't know may not know about this ruler. I'm in love with this ruler. It's got the 0 at the center. Thank you, Tim Holtz. Wow, that is the best ruler ever. And what I love about it is I can actually get this and cut along there and it won't destroy it. Why? Because they've got a metal tip here. It's just a geniusly made ruler. And I love the grids. Oh, and then there's those little things that you can poke through because it's got little dots. Oh, it's just, this is genius. I love it. So I'm not affiliated with Tim Holtz or anyone like that, but totally am in love with this. It really is a good investment if you're looking for a ruler that will do basically anything and everything. And I love that it's clear. It's brilliant. So thank you, Tim Holtz. Beautiful. Love, love. Okay. So I'm just going to do another little slither. And hopefully I'm not going to hurt myself or anything like that. Because you know, I'm so clumsy. Okay. Let's have a look. I've probably made it too skinny now. But that will be absolutely fine. No problemo. So it's going to just have one there and one there. I might double check that I can open and close. Yes, I can. And yes, it should be absolutely good to go. Some of my hairs there. Yep, no problem. So I am now going to cut it this way, and what I'll do is I'll grab this because I want it right to the edge, because the whole purpose of this is for me to protect the edges. So okay, please cut straight, please cut straight. Is that straight? Who knows? Probably not. Oh wow, okay, so that was good. I eyeballed it very well there. Cool bananas, yay. Okay, remember how I showed you that you can do that with your you can use wax paper to do this as well. But when I'm needing just to touch something up and I don't feel like, you know, getting my gloves up and doing a whole lot, one way is to get your plastic. And I always dip in here because sometimes it's the best way to use it. And then you just go in. It's amazing how a little goes a long way, really. And then you can keep reusing it, you know, you can move it around. So say once this is used, keep it with you until you get, until it's no longer viable, you know. I'm just trying to scrape off whatever paint I can, and it's done. So yeah, and you can keep reusing and reusing and reusing. So yeah, okay, and this is how I like to keep my gessos, because they do stick down with some grease-proof paper or wax paper or baking paper. Okay. Now, you don't have to have coloured gesso, by the way. You can use just gesso that's white, and that's basically generally the colour you can find. You can use black gesso, but I have got heritage red and I have got terracotta, and sometimes I'll blend some of the black gesso with these just so that they're not so overwhelmingly bright. But I use these colours because they're earthy tones in a way, and with the green because I love that kind of patina effect and that very earthy rustic feel, and so these colours kind of generally work together with the black as well if I need it. So it's just that, look, don't get me wrong, I love the colour white, but sometimes white can require a lot more work than usual. So what I was going to suggest, if you aren't in a position to actually get colour gesso, you can make your own. So if you've got white gesso, you can put whatever colour paint you want to go in there. Make sure it's just a very generic brand, because you don't want to use your best paints. So just a generic acrylic paint. However, just be mindful though that depending on the type of gesso that you have, some gessos are thicker than others. You may not get the colour you want because it's quite hard to, well, what I have personally found, to say I want it to be a dark green, because you know, you don't want to, unless you can use tons and tons of paint to get that colour, fine, but you can just make it less white and have more of a faded green or a faded red or a faded blue. It just really depends. I'm just going back on my memory of trying to get a gesso colour, but I couldn't get it to the colour that I wanted because I think the paint that I had, I didn't have enough, and it just wasn't going into the colour I wanted. But it's worth experimenting. So you can just get your acrylic paints and see how you go. Okay, because remember, it's only a primer. It's not necessarily going to be the final colour unless you like that colour. You know, so I absolutely love how this is looking. I absolutely love it. But there is going to be covers going on these, but even if it didn't have covers, I would just be over the moon with this. So all I have to do is just go over this again with some of the gold. Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'm really pleased. So what are we doing? Oh yes, I'm waffling away and I can't remember what I was doing. Here we go. Oh, that's right, I was waiting for this to dry, but because I did it by hand, I think it's dry. So, and we didn't need to put a lot on there. So we tested it out. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to glue this now with you. Alright. So whatever you've got on, any glue, like PVA glue or wood glue, any glue that you feel is going to last the distance, just use. So I put a lot of glue on this because I really want it to stay put. You want to get it right to the edges. Okay. Just got to let's clean up the top there. Okay. Just turning that upside down there. And, uh-oh, it went on my hair. Oh dear. I'm going to need some, here, I'm going to grab this. a lot of this will probably ooze out underneath, so I might have to grab this here. And I'm going to have to make sure I center everything. So I'm just eyeballing this before I actually start pressing down firmly. So making sure my edges, so if my head gets in the way, I apologize. So of course my battery decides to go flat as soon as I do something crucial. My apologies. Okay, so it is oozing everywhere, but that's okay, I don't mind that because it leaves textures. But I've got tons of glue there, and that's to make sure it got right to the edges, because that's where I really want it to really adhere, especially on these sides here. And I've made sure that it was centered between those two kind of creases, and I've still got a little bit of wiggle room before it decides to stay in place forever. And I'm really happy with the way it's looking. So I've got my wax paper here, and here I go. Just open this up a bit. And so, where is it? And that's all I do, is I just make sure I get my fingers right in there, just to make sure it's adhering, and then it'll So I'm just going to double check. I'm holding it up to have a look. I'm opening and closing just to check that it's looking good. Okay, so I was just holding this up because sometimes it's hard to see things clearly in different angles. See how it's opening and closing beautifully now. So I'll be able to go right ahead and put my 2 holes on either side, and I'll be able to utilize this quite well, and therefore I'm absolutely protecting this book and giving it real durability. That's what I'm looking for, durability to last the hand traffic that's going to be placed upon it. So yeah, look, I didn't glue this very well, as you can see. That's what can happen when you don't spread your glue out very well, especially with lighter pieces. So it doesn't really matter with heavier pieces, but with lighter pieces it does kind of. It's going to just run it along there, just to take off a little bit of the excess that's kind of oozed out. I'm going to let that sit and dry, everyone, and then we will be able to continue with this tutorial. Hey everyone, so it's still the 6th of April, and you'll recall I was working on this. This is dried beautifully, so now all it will require is for me to put in my holes. Now I've actually decided, because I don't have any that are small enough, these are the sizes that I've got, so I've decided I'm going to go with this size, but I haven't got the grommets or the eyelets to go in there. That's the only thing, but I have got the elastic here, if I can grab it without dropping everything. Hello, there it is. Okay, got the elastic. So you want to make sure your elastic can go through. Absolutely it can. Okay, so yes, it's good to do a little test run. So I've decided not to put any of these, because I've only got 2 size holes. I've got this one and this one, And this, I don't have the right size for that. And then the smaller ones, that's not the one, like this one here. This is too big, so I can't really do that one, but I can use it on this. But I feel that these are just too big. I'll show you. For my taste anyway. It might be okay for yours. So it's good to do little test runs. So I don't really want a size like that for myself. Not at all. So I've made the decision it's going to be this size, and I could even make them smaller than that if I wanted to, because this is heaps of room for this to maneuver. Okay, so this is my awl. It's some piece of, this was meant for something else, I don't even remember what for, but it's got a fantastic pokey thing, and then there's the this thing, what do we call these, I forgot. So yeah, and if I can find my pieces, so I always like to test run things, and it's just, oh, here it is. Okay, so before I do that, let me just put everything away. So this morning I was once again painting up these pieces, so I'm going to remove them. Some of them might still be damp. The further down I go, they'll probably be damp, and I probably will have them sticking like that. But how cool does that look though? What a cool impression that's actually left, an amazing impression. So I'm just going to spread this one out. Yeah, I forgot, you know how I did the book, I should have put some of the wax paper in between to stop the stickiness, but it's left a really cool texture. There's this one, which is, well, the one we're after. So okay, so you can see what I mean. You do need to do a few coats, but that's what happens with that glossy stuff. Yeah. So it'll just need a little bit of sanding again, and I'll smooth it out, and I will do another one. What do we call it? I'll do another coating when that's dry. So I'm just going to let this dry. I'm just going to put this aside. How important it is to make templates, everyone. So for those of you that are new, templates are your best friend. You won't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So before you go committing yourself to anything, just test it out. Just make sure that the placement is good. So this is what I'm thinking. Do I do a third one? I don't know. I probably just want two, really. So that's what it looks like from in there, and that would be where I would be placing these guys. In fact, it'll probably be this one because they're more equal. So I'll just sort of line it up. I think I'd line it up. It's fairly straight. So I will just put the holes, say, in there, and then use the crocodile. So yeah. So how about we do that then? Was there anything else I was supposed to be telling you or doing? I can't actually remember. So I want to make sure that I get this placement right. So yeah, it's just such a shame because I really wanted that one, but I've got a feeling I've actually lost my proper template. So I'm going to grab this one I can just line it up with this, I think. Okay, so alright, just need to grab this and okay, so now it will go like that, and I want it to go to there, and the placement just there. Okay, so I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'll just come down a little bit further for you. Alright, so I'm just eyeballing my center first, and I'm kind of getting a rough guide as to the placement on either side, and this is telling me this is the center right here. Alright, so I really would like it to go there and it to go there, so I'm just going to run a line through. So I only just need two for me, 2 holes. So if I just line this up here, and just put a line in the middle. Yeah, I think that should be okay. So I'm going to make my holes. Now, oh, that's what I was going to show you. My awl. See, I forget and then I remember. Okay, so with the awl, okay, so I've doubled up some of the cardstock, doing a few practice runs first. So I just want to see what happens when I do the awl here. It's gone through. Because that's basically what I've got to do on my other one. Okay, so that does a good job. That does a really good job. But this is where you would want to be testing it out. You don't really want that because it's quite unsightly. You want a nice clean hole. So that will also depend. Doing it this way, you'll be able to know which is for you the best way to put this into your book. Do you want the unsightly part to be on the inside? Well, I would, because you're not going to see it. That part is going to be covered up with the book, but you would like the nice part on the outside. So yeah, so there's that one. I don't think I'm going to use this one. Yeah, I mean, it has its purpose, but it's not bad. But I think this is a good one, so that will, I'm going to save that for the other one. However, once again, you're going to need to get whatever string or twine or elastic you have, and then see if you can thread it through. That's the other thing. Will it thread through? And there it is. So it does thread through. So that's the other thing you would need to decide on. So I've done that, but this is the other hole, and that's quite big to me. Do I really need it that big on here? Do I or don't I? That is the question. Okay, just grab this. Okay. So I think I should go ahead with that. It is a little bit bigger than that, but I think it'll give me a nice clean cut. I'm doing this so that I don't accidentally hurt myself because, you know, I'm a very clumsy crafter. I'm going to now line this up. Alright, so it feels like that should be closer in. And now this side. So you can see how just having a template is just going to make life easier. Just feel like this one needs to be a little bit closer in. Okay, so here I go. I'm very nervous. I have to say I'm very nervous. Now I've got to do another test run because I'm nervous, and it'll make me feel better if I do another test run. Alright, so let's do another test run. So this is the top, and that's the back of the book. No, I should write down front, and this is inside. Okay, so if I do this on the inside, because I've put my markings there, what's that going to look like? Where's my pokey stick? So that's interesting. It's beautiful on that side, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to now, this just really annoys me because it just gets stuck there and you can't see what you're doing. Okay. Now, just got to get the measurements right with this little Duvalaki thing here. I just got to go in under the ceiling light. Yeah, it's looking pretty good there. So here I go. I'm very nervous, but we're going to do it. Beautiful. Okay, I'm nervous because, you know, this is my, I've been waiting to use this with you guys. Like, I've been playing with it, but to do an official use of it, because I've been waiting to do it with you, has been quite nerve-wracking, believe you me. And look, just do the best you can. Don't worry too much if it's off by a little bit, you know, don't worry too much. There we go. That's just come through quite nicely. Okay. They're very big holes though. Very big holes. Okay, there we go. Can see what I'm doing now. Sorry, I'm going to go off screen. Okay, so I've just done that one. Okay, there we go. Now the elastic, I do have black, but I also have gold, and because I've got gold with that, I thought, why not? Why not? So I'll just bring both of them out. Okay, so basically, so I hope you can see what I'm doing. Now I want it to go this way, so I want to have enough. Sorry guys, you'll see what I'm doing in just a minute. I want to be able to tie this off on either side. So I might be doing a bit, it might be a bit excessive, but just bear with me. Okay. So let's do that again. So I've decided on my lengths and everything because I want to be able to tie this off in the center. So let's thread this again. Now what I want is, I don't want any of these on the outside at all. It just doesn't suit my purpose. I want them to be on the inside. So how I do it then is like this. And that ties in together, and then all you have is just this slit there and a slit there, and I love that. I love that look. But you can do it which way you like, but that's the look I have always loved doing when I'm doing these kind of journal. Midori. Where am I going to put these templates? Because these are so important to me now. I need them for our next project. Alright, so let's just show you what this looks like. Let's just have a look at this. Oops. Of course, I'll have to sort of tighten this until we get the right tension. So we'll just need, yeah. So this allows me now to have either some papers at the front or at the back, just folded. This allows me to add more papers in there, and then of course it's interchangeable. But what will end up happening is that these pages are going to expand as I fill them up anyway. So at the moment there's nothing in there, as you can see. But yeah, okay. Day-to-day life. Yeah, so that's how that is looking. Right, for those of you that have never done one of these, so I like it like this, but you can have them on the outside if you prefer. I prefer it this way, and I may end up putting some of my papers on here for the spine. Now this is another thing I wanted to say. If you want to put some ridges on to this, then this would be the time to put your ridges on if you wanted to. So that's that. But to tighten it, you do need to play around with this when you're pulling things through. So basically, I could have fitted 3 holes here very easily, but I just wanted 2 and sort of close together. So it's just, again, getting a template out, playing with your whatever pokey thing you're going to use, where it's a crocodile or a hole punch, or you know, those little single hole punches, or an awl, or whatever you choose. First of all, measure out this, then go ahead and put in your holes and see how many are realistically going to work without them joining up and becoming one. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to kind of make this a little bit more equal. So kind of loosen it from there. Okay, that's better. And then to tighten it, just going to do it like that. pulling again. Now the reason why I haven't tied this off or anything is because I still haven't decided yet how it's going to look in here, what else I'm going to put in here, and what have you. Now as far as papers go, I'm not sure. I had hoped to kind of put this was originally going to be glued in there, but I'm now going to probably cut them in half or slit them there, and I'm not sure whether I will do some pockets at the sides, but yeah, just wanted to see if that would work. And yeah, so just sort of cover that up. Whether I leave this green or not, whether I'm going to ink it up or put some gold on, that's still yet to be decided, but I will come back and show you my next steps. Okay, so we've got that. If that's the kind of look you're going for, it really is very bohemian and medieval all at once, and it feels so, I don't know, you're stepping back in time. Like, I absolutely love this. So this probably will go on to the other one. And whether I paint it purple or not, it really doesn't matter. I'll just go with the feel of everything. So the other one might get painted purple, and this one here, and I'm doing that to give it a little bit of 3D dimension. So there's something like that. It's probably a bit too tealish. Is that the same? Anyway, it's just giving you ideas of, if you wanted to do something like this, then by all means feel free to. Now, another thing to remember is, the things that you can do is you can actually prop this up with something that's similar coloured to give it more of a real dimensional feel. So yeah, because shadows are going to create your 3D effect. So propping things up in layers just gives it, oh, I don't know, a facelift. Let's say it gives it a facelift. So I'm absolutely loving this one. Whether I stick with this is another matter, but at least it gives you ideas of how you can go about decorating your pieces. I've got my purples. It's the 7th of April, if I didn't say that already, 2020. So these are the only purples I've got left, or that I could find anyway. I think this is basically empty. That's quite dark purple, so I do have my white on hand, but if for some reason I feel it's just too full on, I can add more purple, or I can throw in a bit of black. So for the cover, so this is basically dry. It just needs a little bit more work. I really have to say I love the texture, but I will sand it down. Thank you for joining me. I will be back again soon. Take care. Bye.